Everyone, welcome back to AsArt with Nick and John. We post twice to thrice a week. So check out AsArt.space for the audio and video links. Today we're talking about Peter Jackson and his Lifetime Achievement Award, which is a huge deal. If you take a look at the names on that list, it's very exclusive. What?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, like George Lucas, James Cameron, like the ones everyone knows. But now Peter Jackson's making his name up there, which
and
is
it's
awesome.
fun because there was a few visual effects and special effects people on. Richard Edlund was on there.
Oh, that's right. Mm-hmm.
You had Dennis Muren, who's the original OG as far as Star Wars and Industrial Light Magic for the longest time. So you have some visual effects, special effects people on there. Maybe that's not as recognized by as many people, but really exclusive. It has to be significant contributions. And Peter Jackson is a really fun story because he's done very significant content, but he doesn't have a breadth of content like you'd imagine Steven Spielberg does. It's a completely different scenario.
It's true. Is Steven Spielberg even up there?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I know George Lucas is.
Yeah, we know George. But I mean, does he have a breadth of content? I was like, yeah, he's very Star Wars. Yeah, but
it's true.
Me especially, John too. We're big fans of Lord of the Rings. The reason why I got into visual effects and movie makings was the behind the scenes of Lord of the Rings, which is incredible. Like how much they showed with the motion captures, the previs, you name it, they showed every part of it. If you guys are thinking about getting into visual effects or movie making or set design or anything, I highly recommend getting the extended Blu-rays
those are great.
For Lord of the Rings and going and watching the extras. There's just so much good content to even like the detail in Gandalf's staff. They designed it so his pipe goes into the staff. Like literally when he's walking around, his pipe's in his staff. Like it's designed that way. It's just like everything's so detailed. There's like layers of clothing that they wear, and the bottom layer is like custom designed for Rohan or whatever, and you never even see it. But it's just like so much detail went into these movies. But the for visual effects, I mean, from the Balrog to massive army scenes charging at each other with horses and orcs, and I mean, you name it, Peter Jackson kind of pioneered it. Like he was doing a lot of stuff that a lot of people weren't doing at the time, and he's not even a visual effects specialist when he took the job. So it was like he was learning, and it's just like that fun old school visual effects story where it's like you have to get the shot done. How do you get it done? You make the technology to get it done, kind of thing, and it's so cool.
And obviously, Peter Jackson did not sit down and do the visual effects and special effects.
No.
But he has to get credit for really going to the studios and saying, hey, I need a visual effects facility, special effects facility. I want to be able to do this. And I remember they were saying in one of the making ofs, which is great, they were saying, Weta can do all this stuff, but except for Gollum. Like, you guys don't have facilities in order to do that. And they did some tests and really pitched it and tried to get it approved. But one of the big things about that, we just did a video talking about Industrial Light Magic just a little bit ago. And one of the cool things is Industrial Light Magic was really one of the only houses that did super high-end visual effects and special effects on a consistent basis. They invited Peter Jackson and his main employees to go to Industrial Light Magic. They showed him around. They showed him new stuff at the time, like animatics, computer-based animatics. People weren't doing that, and they showed him that and really gave him a fast track and able to, for them as a company to establish, Weta and being a huge, global.
I mean, Weta is right up there with Industrial Light and Magic.
Oh yeah, for sure.
When you think of visual effects, you're like, oh, it's Weta and Industrial Light and Magic. Like it's like no competition. Like those are like the biggest household names that you can think of. It's like Pixar and DreamWorks or so. You know what I mean? It's like for the animation studio. Or, actually, Sony Animation is pretty freaking incredible. But like, it's just so cool, like how he was able to even. I mean, it's one thing to just say you want something, but to inspire and have the creativity behind it and the motivation from employees to want to get this project done. And think about it, he shot all 3 of these movies at once. So like he had 3 years of probably just visual effects work. Like, I mean, they were developing and changing things, and I know they brought actors back to reshoot different scenes and stuff like that over the time period, but like that's intense for any visual effects house to work on such a big project for like 6 years. Maybe they probably worked on those movies.
Let's think about this. So the original Star Wars, 1977 Star Wars A New Hope, George Lucas directed that. He didn't direct the second and third movie, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. A lot of people think he did, but he didn't, because he was so stressed out that he literally had to go to the hospital because he felt like he was maybe having a heart attack because he was so stressed out when he saw the first batch of special effects from Industrial Light and Magic. He just wasn't sure if it was going to get done and things like that. Peter Jackson just says, we're just going to shoot all 3 back to back. And before that, he hadn't really done any special effects, visual effects films. He had done like these low budget horror films.
Nothing on the scale of what he did.
Yeah, and that's just crazy to think about, that he not only did that, but people said, at least especially during Lord of the Rings, he was never mean or super stressed out, never yelled and screamed. He was just like a dude trying to get it done.
He's a hobbit. He's a hobbit.
Yeah, well, I heard that during The Hobbit it was more stressful because it wasn't as well planned, and he jumped on a little bit later on.
It's even amazing that The Hobbit got done, because they were actually writing the film and shooting shots, and he was just shooting like, let's shoot this, let's just shoot this, and we're gonna make it work. He made the movie work from like writing the script while shooting, while filming. Like, it's just even incredible that the 3 movies got done.
So let me ask you this, Nick. This is just speculation on our part, but if he had not kind of established Weta as being this huge effects house, do you think he'd still be getting this award? Because again, he didn't do visual effects franchise after visual effects franchise. He did 6 movies in the Lord of the Rings universe, which is huge. But
he also did King
Kong.
He did Tintin, the animated fully motion captured movie, which was like I think that was the only. I think it is still only the fully like Polar Express, but Tintin looks so good compared to Polar Express and like other fully.
I mean, you had Beowulf, you had Polar Express, you had a number of those.
But I mean, like Tintin looked good because it was stylized and stuff like that. But and then like what's cool too, because like he's done more than just visual effects as like traditional visual effects. Like he just did that World War I documentary where he converted it, made it like 4K. He smoothed out the footage from World War I like fighting scenes from like when the cameras, they would have to like roll camera, like literally roll. Like when they say roll the film, they're literally rolling the film,
cranking it.
And it's so funny because I remember watching something that he behind the scenes with him. He said it's so crazy. You can tell like when it was like an action sequence, because when it was just soldiers marching, it was like smooth, even rolling. But when there's explosions and gunfire, you can tell like they weren't able to keep the rhythm, at the right. So they had to adjust like frame rates like crazy to balance it, guess the color, recolorize it, and clean it up. And it's just like, I mean, that's a huge undertaking. I think he's doing something similar with the Beatles now. It's like all the leftover film from like Abbey Road, or maybe it's like one of their last albums, like from inside the studio. He's going in and cleaning it up and enhancing it too and stuff. And it's just like, dude, go for it, dude.
and to me, that's a huge. As much of special effects and visual effects nerds Nick and I are, and that we respect that and love that, bringing back history and being able to archive, because film, if it's very well preserved, can last a very long time. The National Film Institute, they archive this stuff in temperature controlled rooms. They have all kinds of underground storage. It's crazy. I've actually gotten to see it, which is really, really cool. But at the same time, this World War I footage, people just have sitting around, and it's going to deteriorate eventually. Even Star Wars 1977, they had to do the special editions because those negatives were deteriorating beyond repair at some point. And so that's what prompted that. Whereas World War I footage, obviously way older, and they're keeping that around and really being able to bring. That's important. That to me, like history on that scale and importance is really, really huge. And a lot of people get inspiration from that too. I remember for the original Star Wars, George Lucas would cut together plane dogfights for X-Wing footage. That would be his first cut, and then they would try and recreate the special effects to match that stuff and the tone and the pace and things like that. So that's a huge thing, and I didn't know much about that. Nick, you had known about that documentary film. I didn't know about it. That's something I'm really interested in seeing, because that's really important stuff. It's like people going into the Sistine Chapel and making sure that it's not deteriorating there, and just by hand using a special solution to make sure it's being preserved and it's being cleaned, in a good way. Same thing, except this is war level stuff.
And it was really cool in the article too. He said if he was ever to receive an award he would be proud of, it was this award.
Yeah.
Like if you ever won an award, and you can tell like where his heart truly lies. Like, cause he's won Oscars. I mean, especially for Lord of the Rings, and he's won visual effects, but he wants to be seen as like he pioneered, or not pioneered, but like he pushed visual effects to the next level. He enhanced it. It's kind of like leave it better than you found it kind of thing.
Yeah, making significant contributions to forward the art, and also knowing that you played a part in where things are going. That's a cool thing. Like I can't say as far as a director. Directors can't even say that because not all directors are visual effects people. Like he actually did this in visual effects, but also storytelling as well. Yeah. And if you think about pressure, I mean, the only thing I could think about that would be more stressful to direct than Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit is Star Wars. Star Wars is the only one that would be.
But you're not filming 3 Star Wars at once, though.
That's true. Yeah, that's big. That's a good point.
Oh man!
Bringing back the World War I footage, helping people do things on a budget like District 9. He helped advise on things like that. All the contributions from high level to low level and restoration, things like that. That's very significant body of work, and I think that's a big thing that they were looking at and giving him this award. So really, really cool stuff. I think you said that's going to happen later in like a month or so, right?
Yeah, I think it's I think it's next month. And then let us know, guys, if you guys like the visual effects that Peter Jackson's done in his movies. Let us know what's your favorite one. Is it Return of the King? Is it King Kong? Is it Hobbit Desolation of Smog? I think that's one of the titles of one of the movies. And then, or was it the World War One? Or are you excited for his new Beatles film? Let us know down below. We're big fans, especially of Lord of the Rings, but of Peter Jackson's visual effects movies and stuff. I mean, obviously not all of them are great stories and stuff, but visually they're stunning. They are like he always, like, even with The Hobbit, he pushed shooting it all in 3D with the I mean, he created that technology and with the red cameras.
He bought like 30 red cameras or something like that. Yeah. So I really like Peter Jackson's King Kong. It's one of my favorite movies. Like I love the length of it. I love
the world that they created.
The world and the creatures in it are just amazing. So a lot of cool stuff. Obviously, this is not just Peter Jackson. We don't want to take any credit away from the huge amount of people he's representing and accepting this award. But he did have the vision early on, like, hey, I want to try and bring this work to New Zealand. I want it to be done there.
I mean, without his ideas, there wouldn't have been jobs for these visual effects artists. Like, think about how many jobs he's brought to the visual effects industry. And like he basically helped pioneer Studio Weta to be a big visual effect. I mean, how many artists do you think they house? Like, I mean, like he brought jobs to the industry, and he's keeping the jobs by more movies and stuff he does. So
well, and that's what I was going to say. The cool thing is they're still around. ESC Escape was the visual effects studio that did the second and third Matrix movies. They tried to stick around. They did some really cool work on Constantine and then Catwoman, which I never saw, the Halle Berry one. But they shut down not too much longer after the Matrix films finished. But Weta still a huge, I mean, top 2 or 3 in the world for this stuff. So he helped establish that. And like I said, I mean, I have a number of friends that have, spent, my instructors, everybody have spent time in New Zealand and lived over there and worked there. And, they had pretty much
big part of a lot of visual effects artists' lives.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. So thank you, Mr. Jackson, and everybody else that's worked at Weta. We salute you. All right, guys. So check out AsArt Does for the audio and video links. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you on the next AsArt.